Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today I am making tiramisu inspired dessert just for Christmas. I want to make 3 different flavors today. I'm going to make a gingerbread inspired flavor, a white chocolate raspberry inspired flavor, and also a candy cane inspired flavor. So for my tiramisus, what I have done, and I was filming, however my microphone was off, so I'm just going to quickly run through what I've done so far, is I have made a raspberry sauce or raspberry compote here, and that was just 2 cups of frozen raspberries, a couple of tablespoons of white sugar, and I have just popped that onto the stove to get nice and thick and bubbly and reduced down. Now while I am letting that cool, I am moving on to starting my gingerbread flavored tiramisu. And for tiramisu, traditionally it is mascarpone cream and eggs, some sugar, coffee and sponge finger biscuits. So we are taking inspiration from tiramisu, but doing it our own way, or our cheats way. And that is, we are not going to use mascarpone cream. We are using cream cheese. We are using whipping cream, and then we've got some flavors that we're going to add to that. We will still be using the sponge finger biscuits in each of these, but I'll go through that with you as we get to it. I'm going to display these 3 tiramisus differently to each other to show you some options that you can use if you wanted to make these. If you're wanting to pop these in the freezer, pre-make them now, have them Christmas morning or Christmas dinner, I should say. Who's having tiramisu for breakfast? Okay, maybe we will, I'm not sure. Let's just see how this year goes. But if you want to freeze your tiramisu, you want to give it 24 hours in the fridge to come back to full defrost mode. So if you want to do a frozen version, you do need to, the cream cheese cream mixture will work better at freezing than mascarpone. Just keep that in mind. So what I've got in my mixer that I just started was I have 600 mils or one of the large bottles of whipping cream or thickened cream. You do need to use cream that you can whip yourself, not canned pre-whipped cream for this one, because if you use those canned creams, the air will deflate in them and it won't actually work out so great. So in here I have 600 mils of my cream. I've got a teaspoon of vanilla and a tablespoon of icing sugar or powdered sugar, and I'm just whipping that to soft peaks. So soft peaks is before firm peaks, all right? If you lift the whisk out of it, you're going to notice it is fluffy, it is thickened, but it will sort of start to deflate soft, okay? We want it to be soft peaks before we add our cream cheese to this mixture. So I'll turn that on and get that going. All right, my cream is at soft peak stage, so I'm going to add my cream cheese. I do prefer to use the light spreadable cream cheese. I find it is thinner, it definitely is lighter, and it's a bit easier on my whisk attachment when I use it for this purpose. You can use like the block of cheese. You will need to make sure it's sort of softened though before you go adding it. So I'm going to add that to there. Before I do that though, I want to quickly just make about 1.5 cups of coffee. I'm using instant coffee because I have it, and this is just going into a dessert. I don't need to drink it, so I'm happy to just use instant, even though I have an espresso machine behind me. I'm just going to add some hot water to this, and that will be it. I'm going to let that cool slightly for this particular recipe. So soft peaks. It is soft. It is also ribbony, if that makes sense. So we're going to add a full tub or 250-ish grams of our softened cream cheese. So yeah, this is somewhere between a cheesecake and tiramisu, I guess. But this is my preferred way. This is how I always make tiramisu. Even just traditional flavored tiramisu, I like this cream better than mascarpone. Let's get that re-whipping. All right, so because this one is for Christmas, I'm going to make it a spiked tiramisu. You do not have to add the alcohol to this. I'm just adding a little bit of Bailey's. And I also, that's to my coffee mixture, I'm also going to add some cookie butter, Biscoff style spread, just a really heaped spoon of that. And I'm going to get that to just dissolve into my coffee mixture. Smells delicious. If you didn't want to add the Baileys, you could use dark rum as well, or a spiced rum. That would be nice. If you're wanting to stay alcohol free completely, you could just leave it as the dark coffee, or you could add a little bit of cinnamon or maple syrup and just go by flavor on that. So like just a splash of maple syrup and maybe half a teaspoon of cinnamon if you're wanting to spice up the liquid. I just want to get that cookie butter to dissolve into my coffee mixture here. Okay, that seems pretty good. So we are making the gingerbread flavour first. My cream is looking beautiful and thick. So to this, what I want to do is now just give it its flavour, and that is going to be, I've got 1/4 cup of golden syrup. So I'm going to add that when the mixer's on. I have 1.5 teaspoons of ground ginger. I have 1 teaspoon of cinnamon. I have half a teaspoon of nutmeg and half a teaspoon of clove. So they are all going into my cream along with my golden syrup, and we just want this to combine. All right, that's looking beautiful. I'm just making sure all of my golden syrup did get mixed in. Before I assemble this, I just want to taste this cream. I want to make sure it is at the level of flavour that I hope for. That's good. So this isn't particularly sweet, but that's one of the things I like about tiramisu. It's very creamy. It feels very indulgent, but it's not too sweet. If you taste that and you think, oh, I would like it a little bit sweeter, by all means, you can add a couple more tablespoons of icing sugar to that. Okay. So when you make tiramisu, traditionally you would dip your biscuits in the coffee mixture and then place them in the dish. I find they get far too soggy when I do that. So what I like to do is put my biscuits in the container that I'm serving them in and then drizzle the coffee mixture on the top. And I'm going to show you each of these today in a glass to show you that you can individually portion out your dessert as well. And that's where broken pieces come in really handy because they fit into these little cups perfectly. All right. Okay, so I have lined my baking dish in this case with my biscuits, and now I just want to drizzle lightly over the top my coffee mixture. And I just find these soak the coffee up really well, but they don't fall apart in your hand, okay, which makes it far easier than, trust me, trying to handle soggy biscuits as you assemble, okay? So we've done that, and I've put a little bit in my glass here, which I will finish off first. Then you just want to spoon out your mixture. For this dish, because this is quite a large dish, I will be doing 2 layers. Then you just want to spread your cream mixture over the top. When it comes to doing it in a glass, you've got a little bit more room for creativity, I guess. And then again, once your layer of biscuits is down, you can soak your fingers. It will melt the cream slightly, but if you can pre-cool your coffee or whatever liquids we're using, it does, it holds up just fine. Okay, and then we just want to put the rest of our cream . All right, now if I wanted to freeze, this is the stage I would stop at. I would wrap it really well, like probably 2 or 3 times. I would label it and I would pop it in my freezer, okay? 2 days before I want to serve it, I would take it out, keep it in my fridge, and then just before serving is when I would decorate it. If I was making this fresh, I wasn't going to pop it in the freezer. You could cover this now and keep it in the fridge. It's actually best served at least 4 hours after you make it. So either make it the day before, ideally, or early in the morning if you're going to serve it at night. So I'm going to show you just a way to decorate it. What I have here is I'm just crushing some Biscoff style cookies or biscuits. And that's because I had some left over from a different recipe we made together. I have simply melted some of that cookie butter, that Biscoff style spread, okay? And I do have some mini gingerbread people, which I thought that's fitting for this type of dessert. And I've also got some of my dehydrated oranges from when I dehydrated oranges. So instead of dusting with cocoa, I'm just sprinkling with some cookie pieces, and then I'm just going to decorate my gingerbread tiramisu like this. All right, and for the larger version, it's pretty much the same, just to give it a good drizz of that cookie butter. Of course, if you didn't have this, you don't need to. You can just dust this with cocoa. You could dust it with some drinking chocolate that had a bit of cinnamon in it. You could just crush some biscuit pieces and put it on top. You could even just leave it as it is and just serve it with the orange slices as well. I'm just using what I have. All right, that is my gingerbread inspired tiramisu ready for Christmas. So for our white chocolate raspberry tiramisu, I'm going to melt 3/4 of a block of white chocolate, just approximately. I'll keep the other quarter of the block that will be used to decorate the top. But this, I want to melt this and have it cool slightly before I pop it through the cream. This will go into the cream at the very end of whipping so that it will sort of seize up a bit because we're dealing with melted chocolate and cool cream, but it will be like little pieces of white chocolate, anything that doesn't melt through. So I'm just going to melt this in the microwave for about 30 seconds until we're well melted, and just let that cool down while we then move on to whipping the cream. And while my chocolate is melting, I have some white powdered drinking chocolate here. I'm just going to add some water to that to bring it up to about that cup of coffee equivalent, okay, of white chocolate. If you didn't have a white drinking chocolate, you can use chocolate drinking chocolate. You could also use, that's my microwave. You could also just use milk if you wanted to, and just put a little bit of vanilla in there. Okay, so my melted chocolate is here, and I have my white hot chocolate just cooling down over there. You could add Baileys again to that one if you wanted to. You could also use a vanilla flavored liqueur, or again, you don't have to add alcohol at all. So I'm going to make my batch of cream for this one. It's exactly the same in that it is a full 600 mils of cream, a tablespoon of icing sugar, and a teaspoon of vanilla. If you had a white chocolate flavored essence, you could absolutely add that as well. And exactly the same as before, add your cream cheese once you get to soft peaks. As soon as your cream cheese is incorporated, we can add our white chocolate. Alternatively, if you wanted, you could fold through your raspberry mixture and have it as a raspberry ripple style tiramisu. Just not the look I'm going for today, but definitely something to keep in mind. So my cream cheese is well incorporated, my cream is whipped. I'm going to have my mixer running as I pour in my white chocolate. I do want it to incorporate through as much as possible and not just be a lump of white chocolate. Okay, that is looking good. Give it a bit of a stir, make sure you've got all that chocolate mixed through the cream. Just like before, I want to taste this just to make sure I'm happy. That's delicious. You can taste the white chocolate, but again, it's not super sweet, so it's lovely. I'm going to do this one in my trifle bowl, and I have my little glass for individual portions. Okay, and in exactly the same way as we did the last one. But what I want to do different is I want to just put my raspberry on top before I go adding my cream layer. Then, if it swirls in a little bit, that's okay, but we've also tried to sort of distinguish a couple of little layers. Put that aside, let's get on to the bigger one. Now, I'm wondering, do I want to stand these up? Because if I stand them up, we won't be able to see our raspberry. So I haven't actually thought what I'm going to do layout wise. I am just going to do something. Again, if you want to freeze this one, I wouldn't do it in the trifle dish. I would do it in a larger, maybe a rectangle as well, like the other one was. or something that's going to be more freezer compatible. Just keep layering your tiramisu until you've used up all your ingredients. All right, presentation could probably be better on that one. I'd do some things differently if I was doing it again, but it'll be fine. Okay, so all I'm doing here is I'm getting my peeler and I'm peeling what was left of that block of chocolate to make white chocolate curls. And I've got some raspberries, fresh raspberries ready to go on top. Again, if this was going in the freezer, you would freeze it at this point. You wouldn't add any of the decorations. They are only added when you're ready to serve. Okay, so to decorate, I'm just going to put some white chocolate and some fresh raspberries. And then I will give it a little dusting of icing sugar. That is my white chocolate and raspberry tiramisu. And for the big one, pretty much the same thing. I'm just going to put all my chocolate in the center here. If you didn't have fresh raspberries and you wanted to make this one, but you were using that raspberry compote, you can always just drizzle that over the top as well. And that is the large version of my white chocolate and raspberry tiramisu. For my final flavour of tiramisu inspired Christmas desserts today, I'm going to make a candy cane flavoured tiramisu. So I have already put some cocoa, drinking chocolate, okay, in some hot water. I'm just letting that cool down. You could add Baileys again if you wanted to that. You could add creme de menthe if you wanted as well. In my bowl again, I've got cream. I'm going to add my icing sugar. I will add vanilla, but I am also adding mint essence to this one. So just a teaspoon of vanilla, the same as all the others, but this time I want to add mint. Now mint is really strong, so you need to gauge how much of that you want. I actually like it to be quite minty, so I'm adding half a capful, which is a few drops of mint. You can also add a mint liqueur to your cream if you want to as well. And I may. We'll see how we go. Get that whipping just like we have before. Add the cream cheese, then that will be ready. Hopefully our cocoa will be cooled down enough by then too. I have added just a splash of creme de menthe to my cream, so it is slightly green in colour. You could also just add a little bit of food colouring if you're wanting to make it coloured without any alcohol in it at all. Again, give this a taste. Make sure you're happy with it before you assemble it. I'm going to add a little bit more mint. It's not coming through enough for me. So this is where mint will vary by brand as well as just your own personal taste, okay? I added another full cupful because it was really like barely there. It will intensify a little bit as it chills. Give it another taste. That's better. And in the same way as I've been doing the other ones, I'm going to do a little mini first. And I was going to put this one in a bowl, just like a glass bowl, but I decided I'll just put it in another baking dish because this is going into the freezer, and otherwise I would have to try and scoop everything out of that bowl because it wasn't freezer safe to get it in my freezer. So I thought, let's just make it in this. You saw me make the trifle bowl one. I'm sure if this is something you want to do, you can figure out with what you've got at home what will be best for you. And that's essentially it for the layering of this one. It is just the cream with the cocoa and the biscuits. You can also add a little bit of mint essence to your cocoa if you feel like you need a little bit more mint and you weren't using any alcohol. If you were serving this one fresh, so in 4 hours to like a day, you could also crush some candy canes and put them through the center here on this layer. That would be really nice, and they shouldn't melt too much. Because I am going to put this one in the freezer, the candy canes, if I have them in there, they're going to dissolve and kind of become streaky and just not particularly pleasant. So the candy canes for this one will go on the top. As far as decorations go, I've got some aero left from when I was doing those biscuit truffles. So I'm just going to grate that in the same way as I did my white chocolate and use that as a sprinkle. You could also dust this one with cocoa. You could dust it with icing sugar. I've got some little candy canes here. You could make some just chocolate scrolls, chocolate swirls, grated chocolate. Just a little bit of that. And a couple of little candy canes. Give that a little dusting as well. And that is my candy cane tiramisu. So for the large one, just like the others, just decorate it however you feel you need. And I just grabbed some mint from out in the garden, and I'm just going to pop some of that in as well. So that is my candy cane inspired, oh, it's kind of choc mint really, isn't it? Candy cane tiramisu. So there we have my 3 different Christmas tiramisus, a couple of different ways to display them. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. Consider giving these a try. They were super simple. I went through 2 packets of this size, sponge finger biscuits, all right, which made all 3, 2.5 packets, sorry, I should say. I bought 3, I've got half a packet left. 2.5 of those packets made all 3 of these. These are large portion versions as well. So if you're looking for today's recipe, you'll find all the ingredients I used down at the very bottom of my description box. The method isn't there, that's what the video is for. Feel free to use these though as inspiration for your own Christmas tiramisu versions. If you liked the video, share it with your friends, like it, subscribe if you haven't already, hit that little bell button if you haven't already, that tells you when I put out a new video. And also, if you do see a hype button, feel free to hit that. That does encourage YouTube to share my videos with other people beyond its normal reach. So I do really appreciate every single one of you that comments, every one of you that likes the videos, that has subscribed and watches along with me. You guys mean the world to me. Thank you so much. And thank you so much for everyone who has hyped previous videos too. I do appreciate every single one of you. Have a fantastic week. I am going to enjoy sharing these with loved ones this Christmas, and I hope that you have a fantastic week, and I'll catch you next time. Bye.